And this is now Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. And you see that we are in the Zohar, and this is the Zohar for Parshat Noach. And it's Kuf Lamed Tes in the Matok M'dvash. Now, I'm still learning how to use the video equipment. I've got myself a nice little camera here that's able to put me in the right place. Let me see if I can get it propped properly before I begin. So here we are, and we're going to be down at the bottom of this page. Let's get it close. Let me see if I can get it propped up for myself so that I can see it a little bit better. We're going to pull it down now. Okay, here we go. This is the Zohar in Parshat Noach. This is the 6th day of the week of the Parsha. Yechezkel was able to look into Olam Hayetzira. And things he saw, he said to us. So he looked in there, and he wants to explain there is a song that is sung by the heavenly creatures. There's a pasuk there, Kol Hamula. This is the sound of the voice of tumult. Pirush Kol Sha'on Hamaya Shiris Kanfe Hachayas, which this sound of tumult actually brings with it the voice of the wings of these creatures. Who could call machane? It's like the sound that you would see if there's a large encampment. Pirush kol mashir yasa kadisha. This is like the holy encampment of other angels. This is the angels that are coming to be mashpia to us. Mishavram kol chelin iloin la'ela. Kol machane kodesh. So it's like a holy encampment, that when you gather together all of the different hosts of heaven, Lamala Barov Amhid Hadrasmela. So we have a phrase that if you have plenty of people, the more people you have that are praying and enacting in Kedusha, then we see that the more glory it is and the more beauty it is before the King. Hashem. So then their voice becomes like one big sound, or machna rav, like a big encampment. Now we want to talk a little bit about what goes on in this encampment. Pirush. When you put all of the hosts of heaven in the upper worlds and the interior worlds as we go to Penemius. Lomer Shira LaKodesh Baruch Hu, in order to be able to say a shir to Hashem, sing out to Hashem, praise Hashem. Remember, we're talking about Ma'im Nukvin. Is it from the bottom? The bottom we bring down Shefa. From the bottom to the top, we bring down Shefa from the top to the bottom. So it is Az Umay Omri Maha Chayos Omros B'Shirasa. What are they actually saying as they are singing? They say these words: Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Hashem Tzivakos. Malo Kol Haaretz Kavodo. The whole world is full of His glory, and that's what he says. So he explains that there are actually three different encampments. The Shlosh Mishmaros, from the three. Well, we have to understand what the three Mishmaros are. So there's different times of changing the guard in the base of Mikdash. The Chen Ponim the Gimel Rucho. So therefore, since there's three Mishmaros, they go to three different directions. So this is Kadosh is 1, Kadosh is 2, Kadosh is 3. So he says, Bahadrin, the Derom, Amra Kadosh. So the encampment of up above turns to the right, which is the side of Chesed, and they say the word Kadosh. Ponam the Tzad Derom, to the side of the south, Sheba Chesed, which represents kindness, giving. Ba'omrim Kadosh Kedei L'Kabel Shefa Mechesed, and they say this word as they are looking upwards to the origin of this light and Shefa, Kedei L'Kabel Shefa Mechesed, because they are looking to the right line in order to be able to see this Chesed. Now, just a word just for my own understanding. Olam Yetzira corresponds to the Olam of Zer Anpin, of the parts of Zer Anpin. In that parts of, it's also called the parts of Malachim. But Zer Anpin represents the Vav of the Yud K Vav K, and up above, or Panimi to Zer Anpin, is the K of Bina, and the Yud that comes from Chochmah. So he's looking up. he's looking towards them to receive chesed. Ahadra, that is the malachim. Excuse me. Oh, yes, it's true. Also Zeranpin, but also the malachim. Let me see if I can get this down. Right, there we go. So also the malachim. So he said, the Tzifon Amro Kadosh. So then they turned to the north. So they turned to the south, they said Kadosh. Then they turned to the north, Ponim Litzad Tzifon Sheba Gevura, because Gevura is represented by the side of the north, also the left. Romrim Kadosh, and they also say the word Kadosh again. Kedei the Kabel Shefa Megevura, in order to be able to receive Shefa from Gevura. Going on, he says Ahadrach of the Mizrach. Then they turn towards the east, Amro Kadosh. So they turn to the south, to the north, and then to the east, which is the side of Tiferes. Opponent inside Mizrach Sheba Tiferes, V'omrim Kadosh, and they say Kadosh again. Kedei the Kabel Shefa Mitiferes, so that in order to be able to receive Shefa, that is the Shefa Bracha, from Tiferes, looking this way, looking that way. Now, let's try to understand, I'm trying to understand who is receiving what, who is looking for what. So we're talking about the agents of the Olam Yetzira, which are the Malachim of Olam Yetzira, who are looking for the Shefa that they can bring to us. So they turn to the right, to the side of Chesed, and they say Kadosh. They turn to the left, which is the side of Din, meaning Kadosh on Din. And then they turn to the middle, which is the line of Tiferes, and they say Kadosh. Ahadrach of the Ma'arav Amro Baruch. But now they come to the next side, and they look to the side of the west, which is the side of Malchus. Achakach kulam ponim letzad Ma'ara. Then all of them turn to the side of the west. Shesham shochenes hashchina, which is where we find the Shechina. The Shechina, the Kabbalists say, is towards the west. V'omrim Baruch Kavod Hashem Mimakomo. And in that place, facing the west, this is actually a kavanah that we could all have at any time, and we could be saying Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh 3 times every chakras. So he says, if you had a Rishash Siddur, you would see that the Rishash actually does this. It's a whole display on the right side and the left side and in the middle, 3 separate displays. Anyway, he mekabelos kol habrachos mechaga, because what it is that it receives all of the brachos from Chesed and Gevurah to Tiferes. That is, these malachim who are the transporting malachim. They bring up, they bring down. So he says, Avukol hagimel machnos mekablos memenu. So all of the three encampments received from Mimeno. Here he says, I think he's talking about Malchus. Bechoza the Eden, the highest of the El Ba'amr. So he goes back. I just have to look at this again. Let's look after the word Baruch. He says, Achakach. After they said the Kadosh, 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 then they say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Alol Aboed Kulam Ponim Nitzad Ma'ara. They turn to the side of the Shechina. Shesham Shochenes HaShechina. V'omrim Baruch Kavod Hashem B'Makomo. Now the concept of Makom also refers to the Shechina. Sham, Malchol, Makom, designations, words refer to the Shechina. He Mekabelos Kol HaBrachos, because what is the Malchus is the ultimate pool, and what flows from Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferes ultimately winds up in Malchus, to be sorted, to be dealt with, and to be brought down into the lower worlds. So all of these three camps receive from Malchus. So this is where I stopped and I had to think about what he means. He means at first I'm thinking that we have these malachim that are bringing the shefa into Malchus. Now we're seeing that what it's saying is that after the shefa from the Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferes is in Malchus, then these malachim take from Malchus and they're going to be mashbiah downwards. So let's go back what we're saying up above that Matok says. So we talked in detail about the secret of Matat. The Tat represents a rakia, which is a firmament, which is what's the right word? As a masach between Olam Yetzira and Olam Bria. So what does Matat do? He mismat the light. He limits the light down and makes it more tangible. Let's go on. The rakia, which he says is this malach, which is called Matat, and let's not forget it. Omer the Mala al Roshechem is up above the heads of the encampments. V'hei mekavle mashefa mechamalchus derek matat. And they receive the shefa. Remember the shefa, if it's too straight, it's overpowering, so therefore it has to be mismai. It has to be limited down. And this is what happens, apparently, as I'm trying to listen to this, trying to see it and understand it, this actually has to do with the shefa, mechamalchus derek matat, that comes through matat, who squeezes it down, shehulam mamalamahem, which is up above them. And as a result of that, it becomes an agent for limitation. That we have learned in other places is the definition of the word tikkun. One more piece. Kol aser deihi ozlam. So every place that Malchus goes, I'm assuming this Malchus, ascharan apim lahaki sitra. Kol makom, every place, she'achas mehachayos cholechas. So he's not saying Malchus. He's saying one of the chayos dealing with Malchus. Holechas the pa'ul eza pa'ula, that goes in a direction in order to carry out or bring down the shefa from up above. Ponos panei dala the chayos l'osasad. So if one of the chayos, once again, we say the names of the chayos, this is that on the right side there's a lion, on the left side there's a short, in the middle is an eagle, and up above all of them is the face of a man. Those are the four chayos. So now he says a secret. So he says when any one of those three elements, and also these elements are the names of angels as well. So a lot of these angels, again, angels singing as a transportation system. So any of these angels, as any one of them is acting and bringing shefa down into the lower world, he says that all of the other ones turn towards it, la'osatzad. V'iskalilu anpin bay, so that they want their faces, meaning their roots in some way, to be incorporated in it. Shenichklalos kol hapanim ba'oza hapan shepona tzad sheholeches. So all of them turn to the side of the face, because we're talking here about one face that actually, we'll see a little bit more about it, that actually has these three faces, or these four faces. So let's look like this. The three spiros. We call them by the acrostic Chagtam. Chesed Gibor Tiferes and Malchus. Heim Bedalad Ruchos. Each one of them represents one of the four directions, which we just mentioned. And when they turn to the right, that is to the side of the south, More Sharot to the Pul Chesed, then you see that the will of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu is to bring Chesed into the world. V'oz Kol Hapanim this maskimim lepu'olasa. Then all of the other different aspects, again, this is the side of the right, then it's going to be that the left and the middle and what's up above them, they're all going to be looking at this because they're agreeing with what it's doing. They're going along with it. They like it. Because the tzifon, when they turn to the north, which is the left, he says Mora Sharotza the pulled in, that we see here that what's going to happen is a din is going to come into the world. Va'az called upon him maskimos the pu'olasa, and then they all agree that this is the right thing, and they all look towards it and apparently support it. V'zeshakos is charo anpin la'arbe zavoyin. So he's a machziros as panechem the dalad rucho. So the same pattern it refers to all of the four different directions. So Pirush. So from that side, the side of the four ruchos, shepona osa be'osa hapan, that is that the face, this particular face that is the face of the lion, or the face of the shore, etc. Whatever side it turns to, called shar hapanim ponus l'shams, and all of the rest of them look the same way. Now we're understanding where I understand that my understanding of this is that this all is the generation coming from Malchus into different channels, and the channels have different names. So the channel that happens to do with the right side is the channel which is, so it's a channel for the right side, which is the name of an angel. And I forget which ones are which real quickly. I'm sorry. Kol shar aponim ponus l'sham, all of the rest of the gates, or the rest of the sides of the face, they turn that way. So whichever is the one that is turning, that pointed to a specific direction. Hashola v'kol shachar panim nechlalos bo. So the ones, for example, if the right side is turned in that way or the left side is turned in that way, then all of the rest of them will want to be incorporated along with it. Now, this is a little bit more refined. So he says now you have 4 ruchos. Each ruach has to do with a chaya. And then all of the 4 creatures that are down below this firmament, which is called Matat, Shal Matat, Umushorshim bo, and they're Mushrashim bo, and they are also rooted in Matat. Again, we say the Matat is what? He is the tzimtzum at that world. He is the limitation, the one that the world of Hayetzira, the one that limits the amount of light. And as a result of that, the channels, which are called by the name of these angels, that's what we call angels, they flow. That is the shefa that is coming through Matat flows this way. But it's a shefa that's not just flowing, it has direction. And it could be the right, left, middle, or up above. So he says, let me go back a little bit. All of the 4 angels that are down below the Rakiya Shal Matat, the Mushrashim bo, and they're also rooted inside of Matat. Misvavos vaponis as atman b'chedek harova. Now he says that they all turn to a portion of a 4th. Now what does that mean? So he says again, as atman b'chedek harova shalachem, and their particular 4th. B'shorsham sheberakia, that is that he seems to be saying that the Rakiya, which is Matat, it can be divided into 4 portions because we say that it's 4 directions. Today the Kabul Shef and Meshorsham, and so therefore each one of them has a specific, I'm going to call it a spout, from which it draws down its energy, and that he's going to be transferring from Matat. Now he's going to explain it better. So he said, but it's all Lomar. Sheyesh b'Rakiya Daled Reviim. There were 4 quarters of the Rakiya, Matat. Roba l'kol chaya. There is a quarter for each one of the creatures. Kagon Aryeh Tachton. So, for example, the lion, the lower lion. Pona es atzmo, es aroba shebashor sheberakia. He turns himself towards his root, which is up above him in the firmament. That is, imagine that, the way I'm imagining it, is that Matat is like a big dam. But some of the water gets through the dam. So he's saying now that the actual major flow, what I'm hearing he's saying, is coming through 4 different places in Matat, in the heaven that is up above. The flow that comes ultimately into Malchus and then down to us is going to come through one of those 4 places. Each one of them in this firmament, like 4 spouts. Bashor hatachton pona atzma ala robasha bashorsho b'chein ashar. So there we'd have the Aryeh goes to its spout, so to speak. This is my word, spout. And the ox goes to its, is galifas ba'arba anpin. Kol achaz mehachaya. So each one of these creatures, hakodesh, nechakakim b'daled ponim. Each one of them themselves. This is a detail in Yechezkel that you have to hear, but here he's saying it nicely. He's saying that each one of them has 4 others within it. So that each one of them has has all the other 4. The Shehem Anpei Aryeh, which is the face of a lion. Anpei Nishra, Anpei Shor, whether we're talking about the eagle or the ox. Anpei Adam. Each one of them has all 4 of these. Kamasha Kasav V'Debuz Paneim. So it says like the image of their faces, or the Panei Adam, Panei Aryeh, El Hayamim, La'arba Asam. So the Aryeh is going to be on the right side. The Panei Shur, Small, the ox is going to be on the left, La'arba Asam. The Panei Nesher, La'arba Asam, it's going to be in the middle. Goli Pekuhu Adam. But in each one of them, he says, is also the man is carved in them. Because what is carved inside of all of them is the face of the upper man. Behind Pnei Hashchina. Interesting. Ki he shorish kulam kulukaman. So I'm still trying to sort all of the position of, I have been saying in this year, that I understand that Matat is up above. So therefore, and I saw in another place earlier that he said that Matat actually represents the lens or the filter or the screen between the two Olamos, the Olamos of Yetzira and Bria. So I'm saying this is up above. So he says, now he comes and says, because he says the face of the Shekhinah, he shorish kulim k'lukaman, and he's going to explain later on, and we'll get there, he's going to say later on that it's a root for all of the others. So here I'm thinking, I'm not sure exactly where is the position of Matat. First, I thought that Matat is up above Malchus. It only makes sense, but here we're not talking about the Malchus of its. Maybe it's not. We're not talking about the Malchus of Olam Yetzira. Maybe we're talking about the Malchus of Atzilus. And so, therefore, in the panemius of all of these is going to be the face of the Shekhinah. So he said, "V'goli Adam, Chakok Pekulim B'nei Adam, Elyon behind the B'nei Shekhinah." That's the face of the Shekhinah. He shorish kulim k'lukaman, because she is the root of all of them. V'yesh b'ha'anav demus ha'shorish. So in the branch itself, he says, which is one of these four creatures, ha'shorish ka'ayin sheyesh devanim demus avihem. Devanim. So that it's similar to the same idea that since she is the progenitor of these, and I'm coming up now with a way of trying to explain this to myself. So he says, she is the progenitor. That they have the same concept as the son, the children look like the parents. Behind Anfe Arye Adam, so that in the face of the line of the lion is a man. Anfe Nesher Adam, and the eagle is a man. Anfe Shor Adam, in the face of the ox is a man. Because in all the faces of all of the animals, yesh the most pnei Adam, there is the image of the face of a man. Adam, and there is one of the chayos, there are four chayos. One of the chayos is actually the man. So he said, Adam ain't sorach lefarish. You don't have to explain sheyesh ba pnei Adam elyon, that it also has the face of the man up above. So now I see that he's really speaking about three different worlds. He's speaking about the Olam of Atzilus. And the Malchus is the stamp. So which Malchus, maybe it's a wrong word, but the Malchus is the panemius of all the things that flow around it. So here we see that when we have the world, the Matat, who is between the Olam Abriya, and he's between the Olam Yetzira. So we see that he is there, but he's below Malchus, the Malchus of Atzilus. Through him flows these three spouts. My word, spouts are four, four of them. Kulhu Kalilin Bay, all of them are incorporated in the man. Became called Hapanim Kalulu B'Bnei Adam and Elyon, so therefore all of the faces are actually included in the face of this upper man. Yesh B'Shorsh the Musa Anafim, because in the root, there you have the image of all of the branches. This is like the parent has his image, goes into his children. We'll begin Kacha, but this reason, it reads like this, Udemus Pneihem Bnei Adam, and the image of their faces, the face of a man, Pirish Demus Pnei HaChayos. So it comes out like this in the end, that these three Chayos, besides the man, He Pnei Adam Elyon, is like the face of the upper man, which the Sulam is telling us that this refers to the Shekhinah, which is panemi to all of this and manifests it all. And that's the shira here for Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, this Erev Shabbos 5782, Parshat Noach.